Hi everyone, welcome you all. So in the today's video, let us try to learn how to handle drop-down in Playwright. So when you come to the drop-downs, there are different type of drop-downs we can see on our applications. Sometimes you can see drop-down with the select tag, and sometimes we don't see select tag for the drop-down. And some drop-downs are implemented using Bootstrap and hidden drop-downs and auto suggestion drop-downs. Many types of drop-downs we can see, and we will see all of them one by one. So first, let us start with the basic drop-down, and which is having selected tag and which is also contains some of the options. And first thing we will see what type of operations or actions we can do on the drop-down. So normally we will select the value from the drop-down, and after that we will see what type of assertions we can apply on the drop-down. Okay, so I have already opened my VS Code editor. Under test folder, I already created one spec file, dropdowns.spec.js. And then I have created a small test method. And inside this, I'm trying to launch my application. So this is my application, which I'm trying to launch. Let me open the browser, go to test automation practice, blogspot.com. And if I scroll down this page, you can see a country drop down. And if I open this, you can see multiple countries which are available in this drop down. So if you try to inspect this element, drop-down element in the DOM, you can see selected tag. So if we have a selected tag, we have a direct methods are available in the Playwright, and we can use those methods. We can select the option from the drop-down. So if I expand the selected tag, you can see these are the options. Every option in the drop-down is representing with the app option tag name. So how many options we have in the drop-down? So those many option tags you can see under selected. So if you have the selected tag for your drop-down, so how we can handle this? Now let us start. So go back to your VS Code editor. Now I have launched my page. And as soon as you launch my page, the first thing is the first operation is I want to select the text, or I want to select one of the option in the drop-down. And again, you can see drop-downs in two different ways. Some drop-downs we can select only one option at a time. And multi-selected drop-down also will be there. We can select multiple options, and that we are going to discuss in the next video. And the today's video we'll see the drop-down which contains multiple options, and we should able to select one option at a time. Okay, so to select the option from the drop-down, so there are multiple approaches are there. So I'll show you all the approaches, multiple ways to select option from the drop-down. Okay, so there are multiple ways to select an option from the drop-down. So the first option is, first we need to get the drop-down. So this is the element I have on my page. So if I look at this, select is a element actually, right? So we need to get the locator for this. And if I look at here, the ID attribute is there. So by using this ID, I will add the CSS selector to locate the drop-down element. So for that, I'm writing await page.locator, and when I use ID in the CSS, we should use hash symbol, hash country. This is my ID of the drop-down. So this will get you the element. And from that element, I want to select one of the option. So what are the options are available in this? There are multiple options are there. So I want to select something called anything you can select from this. So it is a drop-down. So from this, I just want to select something called India, right? So the last option. So I can say there is a function called select option. So this is the direct function which is available. So first what we need to get the element, drop down element dot select option. And here the select option is having different flavors. So we can select the option by specifying the label or text or visible text, and we can pass the value or bypass the index. In multiple ways we can select the option from the drop down. So the first most popular option is what? Label. So here in the curly brace, we can pass one keyword called label, and inside the codes, we have to specify whichever country you want to select from the drop down. You can simply select. Now I want to select country as India. So we can just get the locator drop down element, select option, and you can pass the label. So this will able to select the option from the drop down. So it will go very faster. So after selection, just I want to see whether it is properly selected or not. So I can just put some wait time, wait page dot wait for timeout, and here I'll say 5000 milliseconds. Okay, I'll just pass the code after selecting this value from the drop down. Okay, this is the first option which we have. So by using this option, we can select the value from the drop down. Now let me save the file, go to terminal, and then try to execute this code. So the command is npx playwright test, and here I'm changing my spec file name, which is dropdowns.spec.js. I just want to run on my Chromium browser, and in headed mode, I can say headed. Simple test. So I have just launched my test. I launch my application and get the drop-down element and use select option and then pass the label. Whichever option you want to select, just simply pass the label. Fine. So once you select saved and then execute my test. Now it is launched my application. Right now we can just go back here under country. Now you can see India is got selected from the drop down. Right, so it is got passed. Still we have not added any assertions. So first we will see how many ways we can select the value from the drop down. Later I will show you what are all different type of assertions we can add on the drop down. So this is the first option which we have. So by using label, this is also called visible text. Whatever the text is visible, and on the options we can use it. So this is the first option which we have to select the option from the drop down. Now there is same thing. There is one more option which is have page.locator in same element, select option, same method. Instead of writing label and value, we can just directly pass the value in the double or single quotations. This is the straightforward. So directly you can pass the visible text. So this is not label. We can say visible text. Both are exactly the same, but the only the difference is we are just using some keyword here, label India, but here we're directly passing it. That's the only difference. Okay. Other than this, no difference. Both are working in a similar way. So same method, select option, and directly you can pass the whatever option you have. So that is basically called visible text. Now saving the test, and then I'm trying to execute one more time. Okay, now you can just look at here. It is got selected India in the country drop-down box. Perfect. Now, so it is got passed. Now let me show you one more approach. So we have seen using label and by passing visible text directly, and by passing value also we can select the option from the drop-down just by passing value. So value is basically an attribute of the option element. Okay. Now if I go back to the application, every option is having some value attribute. Sometimes whatever the visible text is there, the value is also exactly the same. Sometimes it will be different. Okay, suppose you can just look at here. The visible text is what? United States, but the value is what? USA. So sometimes you can see difference. You can see visible text is United Kingdom. The value is UK. So the value and visible text is not at all same. But sometimes some applications, both will be the similar. The same value they will give as exactly the same as a visible text, but we need to differentiate them. Okay. So whenever you want to select the option from the drop down by using this value attribute, we have one more option we can provide. So same method again, we need to get the drop down element like this. Await page.locator and countries element dot select option, and here we have to specify that value in the curly brace. So in the curly brace, we can specify value and what is the value. Now, what is the value we want to select? What is the option we want to select? We need to pass the value. So inside the singular double quotation, we can specify. So for example, for India, India is a value. Or suppose let me take something else. Let's say United States, by default it is selected. So I want to select United Kingdom. So the value is what? UK. UK is a value. Now here I'm passing UK. So this is another option which we have. So page.locator and the element dot select option, the value is UK. So this will also able to select the option from the drop down. So we can also pass value attribute. Okay, now we can just look at here. United Kingdom is got selected from the country drop down. Perfect. So this is the one of the approach. So by using Label, we can select that option. By using visible text, we can select that option, right? And also by passing the value also, we can select the value. So this is the third approach actually. So by using label, by using visible text, by using value. Now there is one more approach. By using index also, we can select that value by using index. Now let me write the same statement. Page.locator element dot select option, instead of value UK can pass index, but we cannot find index directly anywhere. We have to count that index in the dev tools. Suppose here options, we need to start from 0. So this is a 0 element, first element, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Totally 9 elements are there. So now I want to select one of the options. Let's say I want to select Canada. So what is the index of Canada is 0 and 1. 1 is the index of Canada. Now I'm just passing the index value is 1 without quotation, because index value is a number. We should not put quotation. So this is a 0 and this is the first value. Canada is a first index. So I can say index 1. So this will also select that option from the drop down by using index number. Now let me say once again and then run the test. So now we can just observe. Now we can see Canada is got selected from the drop down here. Right, perfect. So this is another way we can select option from the drop down. So far, how many ways we have seen? 4 different ways. So by passing label, by using visible text, and by using value attribute, and then by using index. By using index also, we can select the option from the drop down. And whichever is famous in this is the first one is always famous, because and even second one is also visible text. Among these two, you can use one of them, and the value and index can be changed. Suppose if the developer has done some changes in the UI, so definitely the indexes values can be changed. So always prefer to use the first two approaches. Okay, these are all different ways we can select options from the drop down. So we can directly get the locator of the drop down, and by calling select option method, we can do it. And there is one more shortcut way. So here we are calling the select option function from the locator. So we can also directly call it from the page. So this is another option which we have. Let me show you. So I can say await page dot select option. So we can directly call select option. And this time we have to pass 2 parameters. The first parameter will be the locator, that is your hash country, that is a drop down, and the second parameter should be the value in the single or double quotation. Whatever value you want to select, you can just pass like this. So this is another approach. So here we no need to use locator method. Directly we can call the select option from the page picture, and then you can pass the drop down element along with the option, whichever option you want to select. So this is also by using text only, but we are directly calling select option function from the page picture. So this will also do the same thing. Now let me run the test one more time. Yeah, perfect. Now it is selected India from the drop down. Okay, so these are the different ways which we have to select the option from the drop down. So totally how many ways we have seen? Totally 5 different ways we can select the option from the drop down, whichever it is familiar. The first one, by using visible text, by label, by visible text, by value attribute, by index, and by calling select option directly from the page picture. So you can use one of that option, but most familiar options, these first 2, or else you can directly go with the last one, because this is also by text only. Okay, so this is how we can select the option from the drop down. Now we'll see what kind of assertions we can apply. So what are the things we can validate on the drop down? So now we'll see one by one. So assertions, what type of assertions we can add on the drop down? So the first thing I want to check the total number of options present in the drop down. Suppose I have a drop down, I'm expecting, let's say 5 options should be there, or 10 options should be there, or 20 options should be there in the drop down. So that I want to check. So how we can put assertion? So the first assertion, number 1, we can check number of options in drop down. So we can check total number of options in the drop down. So again, there are multiple approaches. This is the first approach I'll show you. How to check the total number of options in a drop down. So for that, what we need to do is we need to first capture all the options from the drop down into a variable. We need to first capture all the options from the drop down into a variable. So how can we capture? So await page dot locator, and here specify the locator of the drop down. So that is a hash country CSS selector, and this will return the drop down element. But I want options. Within the drop down, we have a multiple options, right? So you can just specify the tag like this. So this is country space option. So this is a completely one locator actually. So this will return all the options which are available inside the drop down. All the option elements will be returned. So now you have to store them in a variable. I'll create one variable called options, and this is I'm making as a const variable. So what this statement will do is this particular statement return all element locators. Means whatever options are there, every option is an element actually. So all the options will be returned into this particular variable. Now we can easily count and I can apply one assertion. So simply we can apply one assertion called await expect, and whatever options we captured. So those options, how many should be there? So what is our expectation? Let us say I'm expecting 10 options should be there in the dropdown. So here we can call one method called to have count. So to have count. So dot to have count. So in this, we can specify how many options we are expecting from the dropdown. Let me say 10 options are there in the dropdown. Same thing I'm providing. So how to check total number of options in the dropdown? So we need to capture all the options into the variable. Now we can apply one expect function. This is assertion. So options should be equal to 10. So to have count. This is a assertion function we need to apply on top of expect. So expect options dot to have 10. So if the number of options are exactly equal to 10, so this assertion will pass, or if less than or greater than, so definitely the assertion will fail. Now let us try to run this assertion. We are not selected anything, so we have already commented everything. So I'm just putting the assertion here. Just I want to check how many total number of options are there in the dropdown. So let me save and then execute my code again. So we're not doing any action on the dropdown. Actually, we are doing some assertion. We are applying some assertion on the country dropdown. So basically, it is not selected anything. So now you can see my assertion is got passed. So my assertion is got passed in the sense what? Whatever options we are getting from the dropdown. So exactly the same number of options we are expecting. That is called 10. Okay. So this is one way we can validate total number of options in the dropdown. So this is, we can say, approach 1. Now I'll show you one more approach. Suppose I want to capture each and every option which is there in the dropdown. First, let us print in the console window all the options, and then we can find total number of options. Okay, so this is the first approach. Now I'm showing the second approach. Approach 2. So here also we will check the number of options in the dropdown. Check number of options in dropdown, and this is approach 2, second approach. So in this, what we can do is, again, we will get all the options into the variable, then we will apply. So this time we want to capture all the options in the array format. We want to get all the options inside the array, and then we can find the length of an array. Okay, so basically page.locator will return all the web elements here, but they are not in the array format actually. But if you want to get all the options, all the elements in the array format, we use something called $option. So the same function I'm using, await page dot, here we use something called $. So this will return elements in the form of array. So $, here we can specify the locator, same locator, and say hash country. This is my drop down, and I want to get all the options. So I can say followed by option. So this will actually return all the options in the form of array that I'm going to store in a variable. So const options. I'm getting all the country options in the form of array inside the options. So now if I want to print those options before counting, just I want to print them in my console window. Simply what you can do, you can say console.log, and here I can simply print. So first let me print number of options. Okay, I can say number of options, and then comma options dot, we have one keyword called length. We have one keyword called length. So this will exactly print how many options are there in the array. In the array, it will just print how many options are there. Okay. So later I will show you how to print all the options in the console window, so that we have to write a looping statement. Only through looping statement we will able to capture them. So because these options consist of multiple options, we have to read each and every option, then only we will able to print in the console window. Okay, without loop we can't do it. So here we are just trying to get that options and find the length. Just try to print this value in the console window. Then I will put some assertion on this. This is not an assertion, just for your confirmation. I'm getting all the elements from the options, and then I'm apply one keyword called length, because this is an array, JavaScript array, and we can find length of an array by using length attribute. Okay, so simply save the file and then execute. Go to the terminal and then execute. Perfect. Now you can see it is saying 10 number of options, exactly 10 it is got returned. So now we need to put some assertion. Apart from this, let me comment this statement. So this is just for our understanding, a printed total number of options. Now if you want to put assertion, again we can keep assertion like this: await, expect, await, expect. So here what we need to expect, this options dot length, right? Options dot length is written 10, that we have to first provide here. Options dot length will return 10. So that we need to compare. This value should be 10, right? So simply I can say dot to be 10. That's it. Simple assertion. So this is another approach. So first we captured all the options, right, in the form of array. And then by using length attribute, we can capture total number of options. And then we are checking the total number of options are exactly equal to 10. So this is another option which is available. So let me run the test again, save the test, and then run it again. Okay, now I have not selected anything, I just find out the total number of options. Yeah, perfect. Now it is got passed. My test is got passed. Assertion is got passed. Okay, so this is another approach. The first approach, we capture all the options into variable by calling locator, and then we have applied one assertion function called to have count. But here we capture all the options in the form of array. Then we have applied length attribute, which will return the total number of options in the dropdown. Then we have applied one more assertion here. This is the second approach. And there is one more approach is also there. So these are two approaches. Basically, we can find total number of options. Now, apart from these two assertions, we can also apply some more assertions. So let me show you them. I'll comment this. So this is one type of assertion. This is one assertion, actually one validation. We have done two different approaches. What is that validation? We have checked number of options in the dropdown. So total number of options are equal to 10 or not. That we have validated by adding one assertions, and that we have achieved in the two different ways, by using to have count, by using length. Okay. Now I'll show you one more type of assertion. Suppose in my dropdown, I have so many options out there. Let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. I want to check particular option is present in the dropdown or not. That means we need to check the presence of value or presence of some option is present in the dropdown or not. I want to check. That is another type of assertion we can add in the dropdown. So the next assertion is what? Check presence of element or presence of some option or value, whatever. So check presence of value in the dropdown. So we can check the presence of value in the dropdown. So this we can achieve by calling direct functions which are available in the Playwright, or else we can also write a looping statement. So this is the first approach. I'll show you direct by calling direct function in the Playwright. So check presence of value in the dropdown. So basically I want to check some particular value or particular option is present in the dropdown or not. So for example, here the country, inside the country, I just want to check particular option. Let's say India is present in this dropdown or not. Okay, so that is one type of validation we can add. So for that, what we can do is here, first we need to get the whole content from the dropdown. So first, let's get the element await page dot locator hash country is an ID of the dropdown. So this is the element, and from this dropdown, extract the whole content. Whatever is there in the options, all options, the whole content we have to capture by calling text content function. Text content. So what exactly the text content will do is this will return the text content of this particular locator. So what is this locator? This is a drop-down element. Inside the drop-down, whatever options are there, it will capture the whole text from the drop-down and that it will return. So here I'm creating one variable called content and I make it as a const variable. Const content equal to await page.locator and text content. So this particular function will capture the text content of this dropdown. Text content in the sense what? It will return all the countries which are there in the dropdown in the form of string. In the form of string. Text content is always return the string. Okay, return always string. So all the options will be written as a string format. So now we need to check whatever value we are expecting which is present in the dropdown or not. Okay, so for that what we can do, we will write one assertion directly. You can say await expect, and we already captured the content here, right? So take the content dot includes. This is the method. The content includes. So what is the country you are expecting in this? I'm expecting India should be part of the dropdown. And this will return true or false. So we already captured the content. The content dot includes India means if the India is included in the content, it returns true. If it is not included, returns false. So that we need to compare. We need to assertion dot to be truthy. This is a assertion in Playwright. So whatever the content dot includes is returning true, and we are also expecting true. So this assertion will pass if the content is having India. If this assertion is failed means if the content is not having India is a country. So this is how we can put one assertion. So this will basically check that value or the option is present inside the dropdown or not, along with other options. Okay, now India is part of this country. So now let me just save this and then execute. So we have not selected anything from the dropdown, still the dropdown is same, but this will basically check that particular option is present inside the dropdown or not. So now you can see my test is got passed. So basically it is checking this particular India is a part of the country or not. Okay, so let me just give some different thing. Let me say some XYZ. So this is not the part of this country dropdown. So definitely it should fail. Now let me save it and then execute one more time. Perfect. Now it is got failed. You can see here, expect whatever we received is not matching with the true. So we are expecting false. It is received false actually, but we are expecting be truthy. So here it is got failed. Okay. So this is how we can also check the presence of the option or presence of the element inside the dropdown. So let me just correct it again. India. Now save the test and then run it one more time. So basically we have checked that particular option or particular text is present inside the dropdown or not. Perfect. Now it is got passed. Okay. Now this is one approach. So we have checked the presence of value or present option in the dropdown. And what we have done, we have directly used text content. So we require this element, dropdown element. From that, we have captured the text content into the variable, which contains all the options data in the form of string. Now we are checking that particular string contains the India or includes this India. It is true or not, that we are checking. This is the one way of putting the assertion on the dropdown. So the same thing we can achieve by using looping statement. By writing the looping statement also, we can do this. So let me show you. Comment this and the fourth one. And here also, we are basically checking presence of value in the dropdown. And this time I'm going to use looping. This is approach 2, using looping statement. Okay, so we have something called enhanced for loop in Java and JavaScript. You can use normal for loop by specifying initialization, condition, incrementation, or else you can directly use enhanced for loop. So let me try to use enhanced for loop. So with the for loop, I want to check the presence of the element or presence option is present in the dropdown or not. Okay. So the first and most important thing is we need to capture all the options into a variable. We need to capture all the options into a variable. We already done the step previously. If I look at this here, we have already captured all the country options into the options variable, right? So this is the same thing we have to do here. First step, we have to capture all the country options in the form of array. Again, in the form of array, we have to capture into the options. That's the first thing. And then, so we need to check particular option is present in the particular dropdown or not. Okay. So what we can do is I will make one variable called status equal to make it as a false initially, because we'll start the option is not available in the dropdown. We'll start false. So once you found that option in the dropdown, then we make the status as a true. Okay. So I created one variable. Now let me start the for loop directly. So I can say for. So in the JavaScript, we can write enhanced for loop like this. I'll show you the syntax. We already captured these options, right? So we need to specify that options variable. Now from this options, we need to read each and every option one by one. So for that, I'll create one variable called option of options. And this option is const variable. So what exactly happens here is from the options, it will read each and every option one by one into this option variable. Now from this option, we have to capture each and every text, because this is an element. It's a web element. From that web element, we have to extract the text. For that, we use the text content function. So now we can print all those options in our console window. So let me first print the console window, all the options. Then we will see whether our expected option is a part of the dropdown or not. So how we can print? I can just print console.log, and inside this, I can say await. Whatever option you captured this option, take this element option. From that element, I want to capture text value. So I can say text content. So this particular function, text content, will get the text value of the option. Option is basically a web element. And that will print inside the console window. Okay. So when I execute this loop, this will read each and every option from the dropdown and print inside the console window. So let us try to execute it and see whether it is able to print all the options in the console window or not. Okay. So what I have done here is first we have captured the options, and status value I will use later, or else you can just remove for now. And from the options, I'm reading each and every option one by one. And again, from that option, I'm capturing the text content, and then I'm printing in the console window. Okay. Now let us try to execute this loop and see whether it is printing all the options in the console window or not. Now let me try to execute. Perfect. Now you can see the console window here. You are able to see all the options, whichever is there in the drop down. So these are the options which are there in the drop down. So we are able to read those options, and we are able to capture the text content of those options, and we are able to print in the console window. Perfect. Now that's not our requirement now. So what is our requirement is we need to find out. So among these options, one of the option is present inside the drop down or not. Let's say I want to find, let's say, France, which is a part of this drop down or not. It is a one of the option or not. So instead of printing this, I'm not going to print. So what we need to do is we need to put one assertion. And before the assertion, we need to write one if condition also. Okay, so we need to compare. If await option dot content text. Okay, so if condition we need to give, or we can store this text content in a variable. Let's take one variable, or else I can take one variable. Let value equal to await option dot text content. So we have captured the value. Now we have to compare this value with our expected value. So take this value in the if condition. Okay, if value dot, we have a Playwright function called includes. Includes which country you want to select. You want to check the France, which is a part of your drop down or not. If this particular country is includes in the value is include, if it is a true, what we need to do? We have to make the status true. So here we have to maintain one status variable. Okay, so I can say whenever you want to change the variable values, don't make them as a const variables, because when I say const, that variable value we cannot change. So better to keep let, or you can use var keyword in the JavaScript. So simply I can take status, and initially I'll make it as a false. Now, as soon as you found this value in the drop down, so immediately I'll make the status is true, and then I'll break the loop. I will break the loop because I no need to go with the rest of the values. As soon as I found this country, I make the status is true and then break the loop. Okay. So after coming out from this for loop, then you have to put one assertion. Expect. So whatever status we are expecting, initially it is a false, right? After finding that value in the drop down, status becomes true. So now what we are expecting, the status should be true. So expect status dot to be truthy. So this is a assertion we can put like this. So basically what we have done here is we have captured the all options into variable, and then we read each and every option into this variable, again options variable. Then from the option, we are getting the content, text content, and that text content we are again comparing with our expected text. If both are matching, then we make the status true. That means that option is found in the drop down, and immediately we are breaking the loop. And after coming out of this, definitely the status value will become true because the value is got found here. So the status value become true, and we are also expecting true. So this assertion will pass my test. So this is another approach. We can check presence of element or presence of option or value in the drop down by using looping statement. Okay, now let me try to execute, save, and then run the test once again. So we have not selected anything. Basically, we are checking that option is present inside the drop down or not. So my test is got passed. So my assertion is got passed. Right. So previously we have seen a simpler way. So what we have done, we have just expected content dot includes to be truthy. So with single 2 steps we have done it. But same thing we can also do by writing the loops. But sometimes we don't see any select tag, especially as when you're working with a bootstrap element. So this approach will be more useful. Okay, so this is a one type of assertion. So for how many types of assertions we have seen? So we have seen one first assertion, check the number of options in the drop down. For that, we have seen 2 approaches. How to check total number of options in the drop down? We have 2 approaches. And now I have shown you another 2 approaches to check the particular option is present inside the drop down or not. So overall 2 assertions we have put. Okay. Now finally, I will show you. With the for loop also, we can select the value from the drop down. sometimes you may not have select tag from the dropdown, so you cannot use these options. Like select option method, you cannot use in those cases. So only through looping statement, we can achieve this. If you want to select one of the value from the dropdown, you can use looping statement again. So at the beginning, I told you multiple ways, totally 5 different ways I have told you. But if you do not have select tag, right? So in those cases, sometimes select option may not work. So you have to use looping statement. Now I'll show this is another way. Even though if you have a select tag, you can still follow this approach. So, but it is little complicated. Instead of writing direct function, we are implementing our own logic by using looping statement. Okay, so nothing wrong if I still use this single statement. And this is just for understanding. I'm just explaining how we can select the option from the dropdown using looping statement. So we have to do the same thing again, copy the whole steps. And let me just comment this one. Okay, now I'll just copy the same thing. So this is the 5th one. This is not an assertion actually, but we can select the option from the dropdown by writing the looping statement. So select option from dropdown using loop. So as I said again, so here we have to capture all the options into the same variable. Again, same process. Here we don't need any status or anything. And just remove this because just we want to select the one option from the dropdown. So from the options, we have to read each and every option into this variable one by one. And then from that option, we have to capture the text content. So once you capture the text content, now we are comparing the value, whichever you want to select. If both are matching, now we have to select this value from the dropdown. So how to select that value from the dropdown? Here, we need to write await page dot, again, same function, select option. In the select option, we have to pass 2 parameters. So this method we already discussed at the beginning itself. You can see here, the 5 approaches, one of the approaches, this one, page dot select option, directly we can pass the value along with the dropdown. Same statement we have to use in the looping statement. So I just put it here, await page dot select option, and country is the element, and which value you want to select. We should not hardcode this because we are getting this value by repetition of the loop, right? Because we are already captured the different options, and then we are reading each and every option and also capturing the text value. And if the value is matching with this France, and then we have to select the option. So this value, we have to pass it here. So whichever value is matching with our expected value, so that we have to pass here inside the if condition. As soon as it is got selected, it will break the loop. So the break condition will break the loop. So after coming out of from this, and you no need to put any assertion because just we have selected the value or option from the drop down. So after that, I'm just waiting for 5 seconds and then code will be exited. Now save the file and then execute. So here I'm selecting France from the drop down. So execute. Now you can just notice here, country France is got selected, and then my assertion, everything is got passed. Okay, so this is one of the approach. By using looping statements also, we can handle the drop down instead of direct functions. Okay, so if you have a select tag for the drop down, it is very easy to handle because directly functions are available. But sometimes if it is a dynamic drop down, or if it is a bootstrap drop down, or suppose it is an auto suggested drop down, in those cases, we have to handle by writing the looping statements. Okay, so I hope you understood how to handle drop down which is having select tag. In the next videos, we will also discuss about other type of drop downs like bootstrap, hidden, dynamic drop downs, and so on. Right. So that's all for this video. We'll see in the next video. Thanks for watching.